Good afternoon, everybody, or at least it's afternoon for me. Thank you for clicking on today's video, which is going to be our meta / tank Udyr guide. A lot of this content has already been covered on YouTube and other places, and I'm going to start by saying that. That's part of the reason why I haven't made this specific guide in a long time. But anybody out there that is learning Udyr, this is going to be the best way to play Udyr, okay? Of course, a lot of us already know that you build lolWilliePs in a tank, and a lot of this information is not going to be new. But again, as I am building out my website, if you guys haven't heard, lolWillieP.gg, you can go to this Udyr guides tab. Literally filtered, we just made our AD Udyr guide, if you guys haven't seen, but you can look at this, our AP Udyr guide, all of that, but now we're working on our tank Udyr guide. If you want all of this in a written place, lolWillieP.gg, go to our tank Udyr guide, and you can see everything we're going to go through today just in a written place, so you don't have to listen to me blab. Other than that, we're going to go through a brief slideshow. I'm going to attach some gameplay on the back end so you guys can see the concepts talked about from an Udyr main on the front end and then applied in real time on the back end. Hopefully both should add to your learning journey here. Let's jump in. Welcome everybody to our meta / tank Udyr guide. Again, this is going to be an introduction to Udyr. Anybody out there learning Udyr, this will be your best way to start the champion. Udyr has many different forms and many different playstyles. If you don't know, we've got videos on hybrid Udyr, AP Udyr, AD Udyr. This is going to be your best bread and butter way to learn Udyr on, to learn how the champion works. And then as you continue to play the game, you'll start to understand that tank Udyr is kind of like a tool in a tool belt. It's really good in the majority of the time, but it's not something you have to play every single game. With that being said, I consider on the grand scale of Udyr, which is what this difficulty meter is supposed to represent, tank Udyr is a 1 out of 5. It's the easiest form of Udyr. You'll be pressing your shield a lot. You're going to be building resistances. It's pretty forgiving, and I think it is on the most general basis probably the easiest form of Udyr. In terms of your damage output, it's a solid 1 out of 5. While you can build things like Mejai's and Riftmaker to increase your damage, it will not do as much damage as other builds on Udyr, and once you get a taste of the dark side, it's hard to go back. That being said, one thing that tank Udyr still does better than any other form of Udyr is mitigating damage. Its durability is 5 out of 5, truly. One of Udyr's most broken abilities, and we'll talk about this here in a second, is your Awakened W. Most high elo Udyrs will agree that your W is the most broken form on Udyr. And since this build literally revolves around your W, you are tankier than any other champion of your class, and you do a ridiculous amount of base damage while being absurdly tanky. Versatility, I'm going to rate a 2 out of 5, meaning, of course, you've got a lot of options on what to build tank, but let's be honest. If you start building tank and you don't have a carry on your team, as my mom would say growing up, you're up shit creek without a paddle, son. You don't really know what to do, so it's really hard to flex into being a carry if you start building tank items. And then in terms of fun factor, for me, others may disagree. As a wise man once said, winning games is fun. Tank Udyr is the best way to get to Challenger, so maybe just by winning games, you'll have a lot of fun. But if you're asking me, tank is a 2 out of 5. It's really not fun to play. You're living through other teammates. Yeah, there'll be moments where you feel like Mundo or whatever and you're unkillable, but it still doesn't change the fact that I consider the other forms of Udyr much more fun. There are a few categories that we look at. So number one, does the enemy team have high crowd control? The more crowd control they have, the harder it will be for you to build damage and to try and carry into them. So if they've got a lot of crowd control, I heavily consider playing tank. If your team also just flat out needs a tank, let's say your team picked Glass Cannon. This season, you're going to see a lot of stupid picks like Smolder mid and like Mel support and stuff. I don't really know what's going on. If your team has no front line and you pick Udyr, you should probably immediately flex into tank because it's going to be hard for you to play as a damage dealer. If your team needs magic damage, since tank Udyr is so consistent and reliable, we really like flexing into tank Udyr if our team needs magic damage and they picked all AD. If the enemy team has a lot of tanks and or assassins, both categories, Udyr is really, really good into his tank form because his base damage is so high. Against other tanks, Udyr will literally just out-sustain tank and out-damage them and out-tank them just because he's kind of a juggernaut class, so he's better at all three categories than a true tank. And then assassins, simply put, when you're building defensive options, assassins can't burst you and you just literally kill them after the first rotation. If the enemy team also has low percent damage, so think of champions like Jhin. Jhin cannot really deal with super tanks, so Udyr is really good as a tank build into those type of champions. And then the final thing I'll say here, we'll talk about this in a bit, but if the enemy team also stacked too much of one damage type, let's say the enemy team is full AP or they're full AD, Going tank is amazing because, as you might imagine, you just stack resistances of whatever type you need, and then you become literally unkillable. This time around, for your golden matchups, I decided to throw in some color coding here. You like that? So here are your golden matchups for Tank Udyr in particular. The category of red, these characters on the right here. One of your best build paths on Tank Udyr is Liandry's into Deadman's. We'll get into this in a second, but that build path in particular is extremely effective against these 6 champions highlighted in red. These are kind of like AD assassins / diving / AD carry champions. And if you get armor boots, Deadman's, and Liandry's, not only are you dealing him magic damage, which will, you know, if your name is Kha'Zix, it will reveal him during his invisibility. Same with Talon. If your name is Graves, Graves has True Grit, which is great against physical damage, but not at all effective against magic damage. So that build path is good against all of these champions. If these champions are highlighted in yellow, so these bottom left, these guys are super tanks, Skarner, Rammus, and Sejuani. But Udyr, once again, is kind of a juggernaut, so he out-sustains and out-tanks them and out-damages them. So it's kind of unfair to these 3 champions. You also out-tempo them because your clear speed is much faster. In the top left here, we've got champions highlighted in light blue: Ivern, Rammus, and Elise. If you build Merc Treads and, let's say, Kanik, Rookern, or Spirit Visage, any sort of magic resist item plus Merc Treads, these 3 champions will really struggle against you, even though they're very annoying in the early game. After you get Merc Treads and a magic resist item, you are completely unkillable to them, and you can almost completely take them out of the game at every single turn. For your avoid matchups, again, I've got 4 little columns here, each highlighted, so let's go left to right here. So your left column here are purple champions. These are going to be high % burn, kiting, magic damage dealing champions that are extremely effective at killing tanks. You can build Force of Nature against these 3 type of champions, and it will certainly help you. That being said, they can always just build Magic Pen, and then you're really in trouble, especially if somebody else on their team gets, let's say, a Bloodletters and they get a Void Staff. It's almost going to be as if you didn't build the item to begin with. Gwen, Lily, and Brand are very difficult for Udyr to deal with for this reason, and I don't like playing tank into those 3 champions. The column in the orange here, the second column, these are going to be what I classify as jungle bully champions: Belvith, Darius, and Kindred. You can take Phase Rush in these matchups to try and help you, but frankly, it is still very difficult for Tank Udyr in particular to deal with these champions, because as a tank, you're pretty slow. You max W second. They're highly mobile, so you're not going to be fast. They are also really good at killing tanks. Belvith and Kindred can shred a tank. Darius can dunk a tank. So I really don't like this orange column either. This red column here, Master Yi, Viego, and Trundle, these are kind of tank shredders. Like, these are melee tank shredders. Their job is to kill tanks. They've got resets, transforms. They can go invulnerable during your slows. They can avoid your burst. I really don't like playing tank if I see these 3 champions on the enemy team. And then finally, as a bonus column, these 3 champions. Shout out to Rel. I couldn't get her hair right in the picture, but these 3 champions, I've mentioned this in other videos, can pop shields. Blitzcrank ult pop shields, Renekton's empowered W pop shields, and then I think Rel's Q pop shields. So they are really good at popping your Awakened W. If you see these 3 champions on the enemy team, playing tank is not necessarily a bad idea, but it's not a good idea either, if that makes sense. Runes then, skill order here. So for runes, I'm going to offer you guys 2 options, and both of these options actually work very, very well. Even above GM, we still see Arcane Comet still being played on a handful of Udyrs. So both of these options, again, are very, very viable. The option on the left is considered your standard setup right now. It is actually Conqueror, Triumph, Legend Haste, and then Cut Down, not Last Stand. Fun fact, Cut Down for at least the last 5 to 6 patches has been showing not only as a higher win rate, but it does on an aggregated basis about 200 more damage per game. So it's just a better overall rune for whatever reason right now than Cut Down or whatever, or Last Stand, I mean. The other option over here that you have is Arcane Comet with Axiom and Celerity and Water Walking. This will be kind of your 2 main options for your main trees. And then if you go Conqueror, one of the best combinations you can go is Approach Velocity with Magical Boots. The reason why Approach Velocity is so good is because it constantly procs with your R on Udyr. So while you're slowing them for, I believe, 30%, you're also getting sped up by 15%, and it allows you to just have permanent sticking power. And with Conqueror, as we all know, the longer you're in combat, the better that rune gets with your healing and sustain damage. And then Boots are just really nice for a free 300 gold. It's a tempo thing as well, so it allows you to rush into your lolWilliePs as fast as possible. The other option over here, if we do end up going Comet, you really want to pick up Legend Haste because spamming your W is really important on tank, and you want that 15 ability haste. It's just too valuable on a build that relies on ability haste. We'll get into that in a little bit. And then the other thing here is Triumph is just one of the highest value runes available to you on Udyr. For your skill order, very, very easy. We're maxing R first, W second, E last. So you'll be putting a point in W or Q first or second, depending on the camp that you start. For your itemization, I know saying going into this video that versatility was kind of low on tank Udyr, and while it is low, you have a ton of options, which is the fun part about it. Effective tank players, and I kind of want to open by going into the section, but effective tank players never are building the same items every single game. They understand there's a lot of very valid high win rate options, and the best option will always be what's best into the enemy team. But no matter what, for your first item, every single game you're going to be building lolWilliePs. Even after the nerfs, we just made a video, I think about a week ago, talking about why lolWilliePs is still the best in slot item for a champion like Udyr, especially the tank version of Udyr. So your first back every single game will be 1,250 gold for Faded Ashes plus Dark Seal. I'll show you the data in a little bit, but make sure to not start Potion. That's a hot Udyr tip. Your W gives you so much sustain, and you put a point in W at level 3 that you don't need to start Potion. Your first back, again, is 1,250 gold for this combo. Your second back is 1,300 gold for your Hunting Guys component, and then 800 gold will be your target third back to finish out your first item. This will be your first item every single game. Pretty much this is the build path no matter what. And I do want to stress, Dark Seal is critically important on tank Udyr because since you build so many resistances, it's very easy for you to keep your Dark Seal and or Magi stacks. So Dark Seal, getting it on your first back is really, really important on tank Udyr in particular. Your second option are all highlighted in light blue here. These are all what I consider to be pretty much the only second options you should go. Now, you've got a lot of access to a lot of options like Spirit Visage, Abyssal Mask. You can build those later in the game, but I think for your second item shot or slot, and the data reflects this if you look at lolAnalytics, Coachless.gg, any of these stat websites, you really want to plug in a super tank item in your second item slot, meaning one of these amazing, amazing tank items that just makes you above and beyond tanky, more than just making you, let's say, kind of resistance to magic resist, which is what Spirit Visage does. Canic Rookhorn gives you 80 magic resist and like a 400 upfront magic damage shield. It is insane, right? So let's go through them. Frozen Archer, best against auto attack champs and or attack speed champs that use lethal tempo. Dead Man's Plate is your best against assassins with a lot of mobility. Lethality users usually go Ghostblade, so this item is the perfect counter to Ghostblade champions. Canic Rookhorn is your best magic resist item in the game right now, bar none. It's way higher win rate than every other option, and frankly, the components are just OP. You want to go Spectre's Cowl first, and then Negatron Cloak, and then upgrade to Canic Rookhorn, and again, this item immediately makes you feel immediately unkillable to pretty much every magic champion in the game. Magic damage dealers usually want to burst you within 1 to 2 spell rotations, and this item completely stops them from being able to do that. Randuin's is your best as a second armor option against crit users like Yasuo or Yone and Tristana, stuff like that. Or if you know they've got one crit champion and somebody on the enemy team that'll build Shadow Flame, usually Syndra builds Shadow Flame, Fiddlesticks build Shadow Flame. If you see Shadow Flame components or you think the enemy team will build it, the Randuin's passive, if you don't know, that blocks crit damage also works on magic damage from the Shadow Flame effect. For your second part of your itemization here, I do want to stress if you ever get 10 stacks of Dark Seal, immediately upgrade to your Mejais. Do not really worry about getting your Mejais at 6 or 7 stacks, unlike other forms of Udyr. Just be patient. If you get 10 stacks and you're back in base with enough gold, great, go ahead and get it. If not, don't worry about it, but it's tank Udyr. You really don't die, so it's extremely easy to hold on to your Dark Seal stacks. And again, Mejais is truly almost a dang near core item on tank Udyr. Like, you're going to build it probably 60% of your games. It's really, really good. It's extremely effective. It gives you a 10% damage amp at 10 stacks, or 10% movement speed amp if you don't know, at 10 stacks and onward. So it's incredibly good on a champion that needs movement speed, namely Udyr. If you think about it, champions like Volibear build Cosmic Drive and Navori Quick Blades, which gives 8% flat movement speed plus the Cosmic Drive passive, but it only gives 8%, right? For 1,500 gold, for not even half the cost of one of those items, you can get 10% movement speed. It is insane, right? So really look at it through that lens. It is almost a core item on tank Udyr. Now, for your third item onwards, after you've built, as a reminder, again, you're going to build a tank item no matter what in your second slot. As a third item, you can then start thinking about, should I go defensive? Or am I in a losing game state? Or does the enemy team have a ton of damage? Or is somebody super fed on the enemy team? Or am I in a winning game state, and are we pushing past river? Are we controlling all of the neutrals? Great, let me plug in one of these items. Your win more options for your item 3+ slots is Unending Despair. Unending Despair is great if you need hybrid mixed resistances, or let's say if you're planning, they have like, I don't know, like 4 AD and a Vel'Koz support. If you don't know, Vel'Koz does a lot of true damage, but you want a little bit of magic resist to stop his base damage, right? So Unending Despair would be a perfect item after, let's say, Liandry's Frozen Heart and then Unending Despair. It would give you a little bit of magic resist, a lot of health, and then you can just continue to build armor after that without wasting too much gold on magic resist, right? Spirit Visage is great as a win more option if you have a shielding support or a shielding mid laner like Orianna, for instance. One of the best items on Udyr because it ramps up your healing and shielding, but the data reflects this as well. It is only good in win more game states. You don't want to purchase this when you're behind. Riftmaker is great as a general option if your team does not have much magic damage and you want more damage. If your team has literally any magic damage, or you have like a brand support or like an APC hyper carry like Gwen top, you should consider Bloodletter's Curse instead. Bloodletter's Curse is really gold efficient now, and it's one of the best items you can pair in conjunction with Liandry's, because you'll just shred off 30% magic resist for your hyper carry to just go light them up. I don't really build these items highlighted in purple in the bottom right over here until 4th or 5th item slots. Thornmail is great as an anti-heal item. Jack Show is a great overall super tank item. Abyssal Mask is great, again, as a team amp item if your team has a lot of magic damage, but I only build it 4th or 5th. And then the final thing that I want to talk about here in this third slide really, really quickly are your boot options. Merc Treads and Armor Boots keep flip-flopping in terms of data, but the data is very, very clear, especially with Conqueror. If you are planning on playing tank Udyr, defensive boots are by far and away better than Swifties right now, especially if you can upgrade them after feats of strength. In terms of Blue Smite versus Green Smite, it's really up to you, but what this data reflects is Blue Smite's better versus melees, which makes sense. You got to kite out melees. If you're against a lot of like backline mages or backline ADCs, Green Smite's probably better because you want upfront shield to be able to run up and bear stun them, right? So that to me is kind of like the data kind of is reflecting here what I naturally intuitively know. And then the final thing I wanted to show you, pulled from lolWillieP as of today, which I guess is the 19th of May 2025, not starting potion literally is a higher win rate on Blue Smite and Green Smite both, even though the data here does not reflect the same number. I trust this top data more than the bottom data, but the story is the same with potion versus not potion. Don't start potion on Udyr. It's really just not a good idea there. Before we jump into some gameplay here, I'm also going to throw in some playstyle touch points to help you kind of understand the mindset of somebody that's played this champion a little bit too much. Kind of what I think about when I'm playing tank Udyr and all that. So number one, if the enemy team, we talked about this on the front end, if you see like a full AP or a full AD team comp, you should pretty much flex into tank immediately. Because it's going to be really fun being a super tank. You're going to be like Malphite or Rammus against full AD. Or, like Galio against full AP, if they have a blatant weakness, you can expose that as Udyr and just stack whatever items you need. Secondly, your Awaken W is the most broken Awaken you have. Truly, when I'm coaching people, I tell them you should use your Awaken W 70% of the time on Tank Udyr. You're maxing it second for a reason. It is so beyond broken. And if you don't know, resistances apply to shields. So you're building a bunch of resistances and you're maxing your shield second. Please use your Awaken W. All of it is literally built around you mashing your W over and over, because if you start the fight with your Awaken W, auto attack 3 or 4 times, wait 10 seconds, your W's back up again, and then you've just healed up thousands of health while mitigating thousands of damage through all your shields and resistances, right? I always tell people, do your first in, first out mentality on other forms of Udyr. You usually want other people to engage for you. Complete opposite with Tank Udyr. You want to be the first in. Literally, your ideal scenario is you've got 4 people behind you. There's 4 people in front of you, and you just press Awaken W and run in, right? The enemy team is, of course, going to blow all their cooldowns on you. You may die in the process, but you're going to soak so much damage that hopefully if your team just follows, you will literally just guaranteed win the team fight from how much damage you're soaking. In addition, after you do kind of get that first initial start to the fight off, after the fight progresses, then you want to start peeling your ADC or your mid laner or your top laner, whoever the carry is. Peel that person instead of trying to dive the enemy carry. Since you don't have damage, it takes you too long to burst down carries. Instead, it is way more efficient for you to go bear stun whoever's trying to kill whoever your carry is, and then you can recharge your Awakening while peeling that person, and then once your Awakening is back up, Awaken W and run back into the other clump of people, if that makes sense. AoE items, so any item with kind of like an AoE aura, Frozen Heart, Abyssal, Blood Letters, any of these items that kind of have circle effects on them are super good on Udyr. Even things like Zeke's Convergence are quite fun if you ever want to try it. Also, don't be afraid to put like 2 or 3 points into E second. If you are against kite comps, people like Lilia, for instance, have 1,000,000 movement speed. So getting 2 or 3 points into E and then maxing your W can make a big difference, because since you're maxing E third anyway, why not, right? Medjai's, again, is critically important on this playstyle, so really try and get a Dark Seal and keep your Medjai stacked as much as you can after you upgrade it. If you don't know, your W scales off of your magic damage, so you get bigger shields. Also, your Q lightning bolts, even at 1 point Q, make sure to use your Q on isolated targets, because your lightning bolts also scale off magic damage, so Medjai's can make your Q lightning bolts do a ton of damage as well. Finally, farm towards whatever win condition you have, either your side lane, mid lane, whatever you're doing, dragon stacking, and really try and just keep your farm extremely high. If you found anything in today's video helpful, please, before we jump into the gameplay here, like, comment, subscribe. It really helps the algorithm, and I always tell people I'm kind of at y'all's mercy at this point, because the stream and the YouTube won't grow unless we have your help along the way. So at this point, I'm going to attach a game. I always tell people, if I flame somebody inside the game, I'm sorry. I flame teammates every now and then. Please don't get mad at me. It just comes with the territory of trying to win. Hopefully I don't. Enjoy the gameplay. Please let me know what you thought and the other builds that you want to see. I also, again, want to take a second and just shout out the WillieP.gg website that we are officially soft launching here. But you'll see we've got some placeholder guides. So we've got an AD Assassin guide coming out. A lot of people have been asking for the Ravenous Hydra guide. That lethality stuff I've been practicing, so stay tuned. That's coming, and I'm also going to get a general introduction up here soon. But enjoy the gameplay. Let me know what you think, and I will see you in the next one. Bye! I actually am going to probably green smite it up. Alright, you got 2 options. Zyra's got a crazy-ass clear speed. You can either gimp your first clear and meet her down bot side and just skip a camp and fight at level 3 and meet her there at level 4. Or you can do the opposite clear path, ignore her, No way. No way! That's a Nivea egg too, dude. Wow. We're just going to put the point in W here. I'm not going to risk it. We're going to go back to base pretty quick. While the point in Q is really good for your red buff, we're just going to recharge the Awakening on the red and then just not use the red buff here. I don't know if that made any sense. Or not use the Awakening on the red buff. So what we'll do, turn the R on, come around the corner, and we'll just open with the R here. Beautiful. Dude, I appreciate that leash from Casante, too. It actually helped more than I realized. I may have been dead. I don't know. Trust the process. I'm going to save the R so that way I can bring it into the red here, or the blue I'm in. It's not much damage, but it's still 44 damage. Can we do much about this here? Beautiful, dude. Yes. We beat Zyre to the bot lane gank and was able to just essentially brute force a gank like that. Feels really good. I got to go tank here, unfortunately. I know Triforce is fun, and we could technically go Triforce, but that team comp shits on any form of auto attack Udyr. Too much kite. It's the same reason I really want to go Phase Rush, is because it just slows and kite for day with a Nivea, Karma, Zyra. I do not think it's in my best interest to put points in Q this game. Who the fuck am I going to auto attack, in other words? I'll maybe get 3 autos off before we get perma peeled. We want to wait for the next minion wave. They've got no reason to walk up right now. Just give it a second. All right, I'm going here. Fuck this. Great job, Zyra. Wow. She just reflected Anivia's E back at her, and it killed her if you missed that. Cool. Beautiful. Woo! Zyra's here. Darius is on reset. Karma's still bot. Good time to force these, honestly. Thank you for moving, at least. Great job. Dude, mid gap is fucking thick, boys. Let's go down here with our fresh guys and see if we can get a kill or something. Let's go. Didn't get out of the Zyra ult in time. That might have been my death. Not bad, though. I'm gone. Well, we just burned all their flashes, essentially. Same timer as me. We'll put points in E this game. Movement speed is critical against this team. Could regank him here. $40 on Dragon. My top priority, actually, is getting Leanders before Dragon. I'm not going to wait for the Raptors. I'm going to go straight over here. We're resetting right after this. I can't burn anytime I'm already late to Dragon as is. Beautiful. Beautiful. Although, kind of a loss of tempo. Obviously, a lot of stutter stepping going on there. I'm not going to do my Raptors here. Let me walk instead over to her blue. Cool. Team wants to invade. I gotta follow this if they choose to invade. Beautiful. 40 seconds on Rift Trail. Nothing to do here. Nice. I just showed on that. What's her thing timer? I thought these were up. I think against this team comp, I've already got Phase Rush for slow resistance. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to get Merc Treads for hard tenacity for like a Nivea Stun, Karma, Root, shit like that, Zyro Snare, and we're going to use the Phase Rush for the slow resistance that I usually get from like Swifties and Deadmans or whatever. Get that shit out of here, dude. That's 5-stack Darius, so we got to be careful here. Cool. Nice. Big, 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 big. I'm gonna get some placeholder resistances of both types, I think. I could have gone for, like, Negatron Cloak, but... Bro. Your gank sense is sharpened. I'm really working on that specific guy. I'm glad you said something. Thank you, because I'm really trying to get more KP involved on the map. Let them know, dude. Break their spirit. Break their spirit, boys. By God, I'm just going to get a Jack Show. By God, he's doing it. I could have gone to Unending Despair here, but... I think I'm going to do Jack Show just to get a little bit of armor. Not much. And then I'm going to go, like, Force of Nature or some, like, super MR item. Normally, I do, like, Frozen Heart, but Smolder is a special flavor of does no damage until late game. And we're in a specific, like, hard-winning game state, so I think you actually just skip armor here. And you just use Jack Show as just, like, a placeholder hybrid item, and then we're just going to go straight into MR. But I don't want to do Jack Show third. Like, I'd rather get armor and MR second. You could also do, like, Deadman second here, but that doesn't give me magic resist, and they've got a shit ton of MR. Wow. Pardon me. Cue the Jurassic Park theme. Thank you. As we do a dinosaur. This is like Jurassic Park, except instead of a brontosaurus, we're looking at like a devilly ass demon. Wow. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Another dinosaur. Look, guys. This one's purple. See? Why watch Jurassic Park when you can play 2025 League of Legends? Willie, this build sucks. Yeah. I've said all the time, if you're building the same items on Udyr, you're probably doing it wrong, dude. You got a lot of items that work. I think this is a weird game. I think, like, Force of Nature next is my next best option. I'd like to get a cooldown item, too, but... I am not fighting this until Mel is alive. Actually, no smite on them. Let's see if I can go for some fucking goofball angles. No! I had that, bro. I literally had that. I'm not mad, Nora. I literally just missed something. That's all that matters. 6 health. 6 fucking health, dude. 6 fucking health, dude. 6 fucking health, dude. Cloud Soul, 6 fucking health, dude. Okay. Shout out my boy fucking Cassante for putting me in that situation to begin with. Should have just been a free Cloud Soul. Instead, we got to face check a bush with a fucking dead-ass mid laner. I hate missing the smite. What I hate more than that, bro, truly, is having to be in that position to begin with. Gotta be around Dragon Soul 1 minute before. No, you don't. You need to be there when it spawns. It's actually inefficient to show up beforehand. Oftentimes, you're missing gold. High elo players don't waste a fucking second of potential farm and tempo, dude. It's the most noob thing I've ever heard, actually. Let somebody else tank it. Not you, shit. I was hoping Cassante was going to grab aggro here, but... Beautiful. Bro, I'm so sad we didn't get that smite. Just water under the bridge. You just gotta fucking... You can't land them all, dude. Would have been huge if we did get it, but... Water under the bridge, throw the stick on the river, and just watch it float, you know? Can't change it. That would have been huge. Let me finish this off, and then we're going to go essentially just stand on top of my ADC for the next little bit. I'm going to open with Spirit Visage, I believe. Even though Force of Nature is super good against this team, look at Anivia's items. She's not building damage, and she's got a rod, so, like, I'm not worried about it. This thing's got flat magic pin, and I've already got more than enough magic resist here to stop her from killing me. I don't need a true heavy MR item, especially with a Jack Show. I need some cooldown, too. So I'm going to prioritize the Spirit Visage with the healing support here to get some cooldown. Jack Show, like I said, plugs a huge hole for me, which is an armor item. It's kind of a really solid item here. Not in every team. I actually usually hate Jack Show. Not hate, but you have better options. This is a weird game where it actually kind of works. See how, like, I'm not taking damage? I don't think the Force of Nature is truly, like... Great. Might be able to end here. Damn, I was hoping we would have gotten it. Perfect reset here. What's up, Space Karen Musk? Ha! Cucklon Musk. I'll hit you with a little TOS, 2025 TOS. No cuck in the username, please. We can follow this now, I think. Alright, fine. Whew. GG. Finally got my boy Cassante a triple kill. Cassante's been playing kind of well. He's just been... GG. How are you, Willie? Good, man. Space Karen Musk. I guess that's the second best, dude.
Dang. Call me so I can make it juicy for ya.